Latest hoops news around the NBA. Starting here, Ramona, did you see this clip? Tyrese Halliburton during last night's dramatic Fever win. His fiance Jane posted this clip. He's been courtside a lot for their games.
He's been courtside forever. He is an OG fan. He goes back to when they weren't even at Gamebridge. He used to show up. They'd give him tickets. And then finally, when Caitlin Clark got out there, said, hey, we're going to need you to buy some season seats. And he said, oh, okay.
Yeah, yesterday's price is not today's price. But what a win for the Indiana Fever. We're going to have more on that game coming up a little later in our show. Moving on here to the beef that's been squashed, right, between Giannis and Alperen Şengün. They shared a collaborated joint post on social media that said, we always remember sports are made to unite us, not divide us. If you missed this storyline, both had made some comments that upset their national fans during FIBA Eurobasket. Houston plays Milwaukee on November 9th. Tim, what are you expecting?
Well, I think they've buried the hatchet, but you know what? Giannis, mild-mannered, generally a pleasant, even joyful guy. Yeah. Underrated beefer. I mean, this guy, you got this. You've got the deal with Papa Halliburton, the game ball saga.
Yeah, that's right.
Versus the ladder in Philly back in the day with Harden. Giannis got some beef.
Well, yesterday, Giannis's dad jokes too. It's all good with him, right? Let's go to the Miami. ESPN Shams Charania reported this morning that Tyler Herro getting surgery, unfortunately, on his left foot. He will be sidelined to start the season. He was hurt in an off-season workout. The Heat had a bottom 10 offense last season, Ramona. So how concerning is this?
It's slightly concerning because I think this has been going on all summer. He didn't really train with his longtime trainer Drew Hanlon all summer. This has been bothering him, and I think hope was that he could avoid surgery, but got to get it done, got to get him back on the court. So this opens up room for Norm Powell. Good thing they got him, and maybe even Terry Rozier, who was kind of buried on the bench chart, the depth chart there.
Out to start the season, though, for Tyler Herro. All right,
trade value.
To the stalemate between restricted free agent Jonathan Kuminga and the Warriors. It continues. His agent, Aaron Turner, he told the Hoop Collective podcast that they're prepared to take the $8 million one-year qualifying offer. So the Warriors, remember, they'd reportedly offered a 3-year, $75 million deal, but the team is sticking with that team option in the final year, and that has been a sticking point. So whether it's a team or a player option, that would guarantee Kuminga $48 million in the first 2 seasons. Since we're talking money, we need to bring in Mr. Money Moves, Bobby Marks, our front office insider. Bobby, why would Kuminga take the qualifying offer instead of that guaranteed, $40 million more?
Yeah, first, give credit to Brian Windhorst. I don't think I've seen an agent come on a podcast and negotiate for his client like he did, Aaron Turner did with Jonathan Kuminga here. I think from his perspective, he's looking at it first. The $8 million qualifying offer gets him to unrestricted free agency next year. It also gives him the right to veto any trade coming forth. It was also mentioned, and Anthony Slater has mentioned this, that Kuminga has taken out an insurance policy in case he does get injured. So there is the mitigating cost as far as future salary that could be coming in. But I do think, Malik, I think there's a compromise here when you're looking at it. And I know we've talked about the 2-year, the team option here. I think you could still do the team option. And I think what you can do if you're Golden State, let Kuminga have the right to veto any trade. But here's a little wrinkle. If he was traded and Golden State exercised that team option, guess what happens? He no longer has the right to approve any trade any further. So I think there is a common ground, at least from the Warriors' perspective, to get a deal done, because I think this is kind of the last resort both sides want to go through, is have him play out on that 1-year deal.
Bobby, when I read that the Warriors had offered him the 3-year deal, the 3 years with the team option on the on the 3rd year, I felt like they were the ones who blinked. Like, that to me was a significant development in these negotiations. That was a concession, because all summer long it had been a 1-and-1 team option on the 2nd year. Now it gave him another guaranteed year. So that's, instead of being $24 million 2 years, but only 12 of that's guaranteed, now this is an extra $40 million guaranteed. That's a lot of money, and I felt like the Warriors already blinked by offering him that. And I know we're hung up on this team option versus player option, but Bob, you tell me if I'm wrong, but that felt like in the stare down that Kuminga has already got them to move.
Well, I don't think they're going to move any further. I think certainly when you talk to people close to the organization, I think we're kind of here we are, right? It's either going to be the qualifying offer or it's going to be one of those offers that have already been on the table here. Listen, we've got 2 weeks until October 1st. That's the deadline when this qualifying offer goes off the table unless Golden State wants to extend it. Remember also, there's also that offer for 3 years. I think it was $54 million. That was straight, no options at all there. So there are different scenarios for Kuminga, but as we heard on the podcast, they're going to dig their heels in the ground here, and they're going to look at what's best for Jonathan Kuminga. And if it's what's best is 1 year and taking $16 million less, they're going to go out and do that.
And I think where people are maybe being confused is their perspective of what's best for Jonathan Kuminga is not necessarily maximizing the value of the contract. They're looking, Jonathan Kuminga thinks he is a blossoming star.
Right.
Clearly, the Golden State Warriors do not agree with that. Steve Kerr does not agree with that. Jonathan Kuminga wants to be in a situation where he can thrive. And he says, hey, if I'm leaving money on the table now, he's betting if he gets in a situation where he'll have the ball more, where he can thrive, that the money will come. You can agree or disagree, but his perspective isn't, let me get paid as much as possible right now.
Right, and you heard that up close on the Collective podcast. Again, Brian Windhorst, you can listen to that interview. It is up now wherever you get your podcast. Tim, have you checked your mail?
I have not.
Well, you know, October 1st is still a couple of days away, but you might have missed an invitation from Anna Wintour to Fashion Week. And in case you did, it just wrapped up in New York. So you might want to open that a little late. But some NBA players, they were all locked in. And look at this.
So cute.
Josh Hart hitting the runway with his twins.
Love it.
I do have a good sweats collection.
Precious.
You have some great shoes.
Look at it, working it. Look at these youngins.
Also one of the perks of playing in New York for the Knicks.
Absolutely. It works with the schedule, maybe a little differently than Tim makes.
You know he wants to make a statement. Destroyer. Doncic steps back. He's red hot. He's at his best. Stop it. Stop it.
Honestly, I think we have what we need to compete for the championship. You know we're going to go for it.
So right now on ESPN.com, you could read Dave McMenamin's in-depth look at this summer of Luka Doncic and how it could be transformational for the Los Angeles Lakers franchise. And how lucky for us, Dave is joining us right now. I think we might need to transform the photo we have here of Luka Doncic. It's no longer reflective of how he's showing up, not at FIBA and not now. But Dave, the Lakers, they showed their commitment back. Luka's been showing it all summer. What exactly did that look like, both in person and from afar?
Well, in person, the Lakers had a group travel to Poland to see him before the start of Eurobasket, and that was a 6,000-mile trip. Rob Pelinka got in the plane, Jeannie Buss got in the plane, the Rambi got in the plane.
Rambi.
They wanted to make it clear to Luka, if something's important to you, it's also important to us. And this was really a chance to establish the first footing together after the whirlwind of the midseason trade.
Yeah.
And that extended as the Lakers went back to the States. There was a group chat before and after every game between Laura Beth Seeger, Luka's manager, Javi Barrio, his physiotherapist, and then Rob Pelinka and Dr. Leroy Sims, who's the head of medicine for the Lakers. And they just wanted to make sure that, hey, is your body right?
Yeah.
Is there any tweaks that we saw in the game? Did we do anything? And then beyond that, they were so forthcoming and generous with their resources. You know, Slovenia is a country of 2 million people. They had their equipment manager in touch with the Slovenian national team. They're like, if you need any gear, we can send stuff, airmail to you. And really, it was about, you are going to be the face of our franchise, and we want you to be as comfortable as possible in reaching that kind of stature. And if that includes playing for your national team, we're okay with it. We endorse it. We want to see it because we want to see you in your full form. And take control of your career. If you do it, it's going to get us where we want to go to.
And there's really interesting details in this piece about Luka's intermittent fasting, about the Lakers, what their commitment is here to Luka Doncic. But you two cover the Lakers very closely. You have covered Luka more closely than anyone really in his career. And so I want to really distill down what is important to know here, because fans are seeing the pictures and there's a lot of excitement. But Luka's been the face of a franchise before, right? What is different right now, Tim, from your reporting?
I think the slap in the face of the trade and the way it happened, the aftermath, that has been a big-time wake-up call for Luka. I think it has forced him to grow up. And look, there's been flashes of the commitment, the conditioning for Luka in the past. This feels like something that is the turning of a corner. You know, can he maintain it through the course of the season? We'll see, but you're seeing maturation, Luka. The way he interacted and led a Slovenia team, with, you know, David.
Had you ever seen that before?
not to that degree, and he didn't have to be the leader in Dallas. You know, Kyrie Irving was. You know, Jalen Brunson was the vocal guy. On that Slovenian national team, and you know, in Eurobasket, they put the camera in the huddle, so you really saw it. But I think that was evidence of maturation. The way that he has worked with the front office of the Lakers in a partnership, recruited. These are things. This is different than it was in Dallas. It's certainly the relationship with the Mavericks front office completely broke down. But even in the good times, this is a different approach by Luka. The media approach has been different. Now, when you're talking about maturation, what's the other thing you talk about? Ranting at the referees. You know what, though? A guy who coached him in Dallas was telling me he thinks that's also tied to conditioning.
I see that.
When there's fatigue, there's frustration, and when Luka's frustrated, the refs are going to hear about it. So maybe a better conditioned Luka, I'm not saying can totally cut that out, but cut that down.
So, Tim, I got a question. I mean, you literally wrote the book on Luka Doncic. How does this level of care and commitment and the way the Lakers front office and ownership are treating him compared to the way that Mark Cuban did? Because I felt like Mark Cuban had that sort of embrace of players, and we, you know, the Lakers take care of superstars almost like any other franchise. Is this back to the beginning?
It's back to the beginning, but it's a different Luka. And again, early in Luka's career, his thing was based like, hey, I hoop. It's not my job to be the general manager. It's not my job to recruit players. He didn't involve himself in personnel discussions at all until they botched the Brunson situation. He's looking around saying, whoa, we've got no chance to contend here. So similar approach that Cuban had, obviously post-Cuban, not so much.
Yeah.
Completely different Luka, though.
And maybe another growth area that we saw in Eurobasket. We know he's going to score, right? And he scored historic
this
numbers.
was a great detail.
35 points per game, almost the most since the guy in 1989 in Eurobasket. He defended. And the Lakers assistant coach Greg St. Jean was on the Slovenian staff. And one of the things he did was put together a video edit of all the plays that he saw. Luka committing to defense, talking on defense, being in the right proper spacing. And he showed it to the Slovenian national coach. He said, hey, I want to show you who our best defender is. And he's expecting to see not Luka Doncic.
Right.
And after watching the video evidence, he's like, I see it. And if he can carry that over to the Lakers, I mean, obviously the Lakers were one of the better defending teams in the second half of the season. If they can be that from the start of the season, we'll see where they can go.
And Luka Doncic is going to be a huge piece of everything that the Lakers do. The other sort of piece in all of this that we haven't mentioned yet, of course, is LeBron James. And he sat down with Speedy Morman on Complex. Just take a listen to what he had to say when the topic of his retirement came up.
Listen, guys, every time I pick up something new does not mean retirement. It's like, oh, with chopsticks. Oh, he's retiring. Oh, I've seen you wear a T-shirt that's too big. Oh, retirement. Oh, he picked up golf, retirement. It's like, it's just something I want to do. It's just a little hobby. But retirement is coming. It is coming. It's just not here just yet.
Does just yet mean like today or tomorrow? What's your takeaway here?
Well, first of all, shout out to my Q's brother, Speedy Morman. Great interview. Very compelling, LeBron, that you got in that sit down. But honestly, I've spoken to countless people close to LeBron over this summer after kind of the murkiness of the statement from Rich Paul that was given to Shams Charania after LeBron picked up his option for year 23. And most of them are telling me, I think we're pretty close to the end, but I don't know if LeBron knows where he's at. Does he know that this is from day one going to be the last year? Will he start to feel it? Will he start to feel otherwise and say, you know what, this is a really good Lakers team. And maybe we can do something special this year and extend it. You know, one person close to him told me at one point, if the Lakers win, is he going to walk away from the chance to defend it and get 6 rings versus 5? I mean, obviously, there are many permutations out there, and we have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I think that's a really human approach to all of this, right? And we've seen players, Kobe Bryant, right? They didn't necessarily declare it at the beginning of the season. You feel it out a little bit before that decision is made. I'm sure we will be talking a lot more as we approach the season on these Los Angeles early, followed by the rest of the league. They will join them on September 29th. Actual NBA games, officially, we are 2 weeks away from preseason hoops. I know. They're going to tip off with the Sixers facing the Knicks. That's in Abu Dhabi. Some big questions about those teams and many more. So we thought, as training camp approaches, it's time to ask the most pressing questions to our reporters. So joining us now is Tim McMahon and Dave McMenamin. Let's start with Dallas here, Tim. There's a lot of questions for this Mavericks squad, even after the busy summer they had. A couple of storylines that we've been following here for the Mavs. Of course, they drafted a franchise cornerstone in Cooper Flagg at the #1 spot. They re-signed Kyrie Irving. They brought in D'Angelo Russell as his replacement, maybe while he rehabs that knee. And then Dallas also extended P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford. So that's a lot of housekeeping there, but still a lot of questions remain. What are you going to be asking when you head into training camp?
I mean, the biggest question about the Mavericks going into the season won't be answered for a while, and that's when will Kyrie be able to return? He's hoping it can be as early as January. And when will he be back to his level? I mean, he was performing at an all-NBA level last season. Can he get back to that at some point this season going into the playoffs, for a team that desperately needs his scoring and creating ability? And obviously there's a lot of other questions. Anthony Davis, he's coming off of retina surgery. Is he fully ready to roll going into training camp, going into the season? It is his team right now, despite the fact that, hey, they did draft this generational talent after falling arse backwards into the #1 overall pick. That's the Disney-fied version. And I'm talking, of course, about Cooper Flagg. What exactly can we expect out of an 18-year-old kid coming into the season? And what position will he be playing? He played a lot of point guard in Summer League. Jason Kidd has a history. He put the ball in Giannis's hands when Giannis was a young player and said, spread your wings. Can he do that? Will he do that with Cooper Flagg playing on a team surrounded by veteran future Hall of Famers that has aspirations to be a playoff team that can do some damage this season?
Yeah, when I spoke to Jason Kidd at Summer League in Las Vegas, he said, I plan to put the ball in Cooper Flagg's hands a whole lot. This is a team that has expectations, Shanae, knowing that you're trusting a rookie with those ball handling duties. How far do you think this team can go with all those questions hanging over them?
I think they can stay in the mix.
Yep.
The West is getting better, and I do believe that Kyrie Irving, maybe getting him back towards the end of the season, buying him time. He's a veteran, so he'll know how to handle that process the best. I think making sure that Cooper has some initiating ball handling duties, but also making sure that D'Lo is the one probably more often than not.
Right. And that's the questions that Tim is going to be asking heading into this training camp, which brings us to the Los Angeles Lakers, because the highlight of the Lakers offseason was probably agreeing to a 3-year max extension with Luka. It'll keep him with Los Angeles until at least the 2028-29 season. And then LeBron, this was very interesting. He picked up his $52.6 million player option. He now can become an unrestricted free agent next year. And then the Lakers, they signed DeAndre Ayton, Marcus Smart, and Jake LaRavia. So, Dave, the Lakers come into every season with only one goal, and that is to win a championship. But what is the biggest question to you that you're going to be asking when you go into training camp?
Malika, so long as LeBron James is in the NBA, I'm going to start my attention wondering what time he has left. And so let's start with the temperature take of LeBron. Obviously, when he opted into his last year with the Lakers, Rich Paul issued a statement to Shams Charania, which opened up the door for speculation as to how much longer this partnership between LeBron and the Lakers would last. I need to find out how things are going between him and the team, and we're going to find that out shortly. Also, I want to know, it's been a minute since guys like DeAndre Ayton and Marcus Smart were in winning situations in Phoenix and Boston. How much do they have left in the tank to bring towards the table for the day in, day out challenge that the Lakers have with the target on the back wherever they go around the league? And then Luka, we saw his commitment to his body, his transformed physique pay off in Eurobasket, having a historic run through that, almost averaging 35 points per game, the most a guy scored in Eurobasket since the 1980s. Can that translate as well to the NBA? And perhaps could this be the time he breaks through and wins his first league MVP?
Well, the Los Angeles Lakers, they were one of those top seeds in the Western Conference last year, but the Houston Rockets, they were the 2 seed that maybe had a little bit of a disappointing start to their playoffs last year. This year, the expectations are even higher, right? The biggest move for the Rockets was trading for Kevin Durant, a top 10 scorer in NBA history, boosting an offense that was missing that go-to scoring. That was really highlighted in that first-round matchup with the Golden State Warriors. They also extended Jabari Smith Jr., Fred VanVleet, Steven Adams, and they signed Finney Smith. That was a big loss for LA, and then also Clint Capella here. So Kevin Durant will certainly have an impact on this roster's team. But Tim, the most pressing questions, because you were covering all things Texas for us, for the Rockets is going to be what? Janae's listening carefully.
I think what is the commitment to Kevin Durant moving forward? As of right now, he has not signed a contract extension with the Rockets. I'm not saying that won't happen by media day. Maybe we'll get our answer before media day and there's an extension in place and okay, KD's going to be part of this for the next few years. But as of right now, Kevin Durant is going into the final year of his contract. He's eligible for a 2-year, $122 million extension. I do not anticipate that the number will be a max number. Can they find a middle ground? Those are the biggest questions. As far as his fit, his role, there was a glaring void for a go-to guy on that Rockets team. They overachieved in the regular season. That hole in their roster was exposed in the playoffs.
Yep.
Kevin Durant fills that hole.
Kevin Durant is going to address that. I want to get to one more team before I get your overarching thoughts here on the Western Conference, because Dave, in the playoffs, you were covering the Timberwolves, so I wanted to check in there. The Wolves, they kept their front court intact. They did re-sign Julius Randle, Naz Reid to 9-figure deals here. And then they also added to their front court by taking Yohan Beringer, 17th overall in the draft. Is that for my...
It's a fun name, Yohan Beringer. I like that.
But they didn't change much, right? Minnesota didn't change much, but their goals, they remain the same, and they are lofty to be able to overtake the Oklahoma City Thunder. What is the number one challenge for them this season as you are looking towards this roster, Dave?
Well, yes, we can say, Malika, that they are coming off back-to-back Western Conference Finals appearances. But first, the biggest question for me is, was last year's run through the playoffs a mirage? At times last year, they looked dead in the water, and there was an awkward fit between Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle. They were able to build momentum late in the season. They took out a Lakers team that had Luka Doncic going through an illness one of the games, and LeBron James suffered a knee injury. And then they took out a Warriors team that basically didn't have Steph Curry for the entire series. Are they really that close to a Western Conference finalist, or was what we saw a bit of circumstantial type of run for them last year? And then beyond that, they lost Nickeil Alexander-Walker to Atlanta. Chris Finch vowed after they lost to the Oklahoma City Thunder in the Western Conference Finals that he's going to play younger guys and to improve their depth. Our guys like Terrence Shannon Jr., Rob Dillingham, and Josh Minott, are they ready for this moment? Are they primetime players ready to produce and get this team back to the level it was last year?
Okay, class has been in session. I took some notes, so I've got some feedback on Dallas. I think we know that they can play big. My curiosity is, can they play small? That'll be interesting. When it comes to the Houston Rockets, you don't make an NBA historic 7-team trade to not extend, so let's not fumble the bag there. LeBron James and Luka, every year we go in and say that, this is LeBron James' team no matter what he does. But LeBron has been trying to defer and say, hey, it's AD's team now. Now it's truly Luka's team. I do think this is the year where they probably embrace it. And last but not least, I think the Timberwolves, it seems like the moves they made, which were not that many, they're sort of treading water. So I think it's going to be hard to repeat in the Western Conference Finals. So those are my after-hour notes.
Your
office-hour notes?
Your office-hour notes? Not after-hour notes or something from Swole Steph. Something, nothing, or everything, Shanae.
That's more than swole stuff. Look, whenever you have a team that their only move they make in the offseason is one player walking out the door, Steph knows what's up. He's got to get the muscles up because he's going to have to put the team on his back once again. Look, I think this is something, or maybe it's not. I don't know. It's in the summer. It's in the season of summer bods. So maybe it's just a new trend.
Well, maybe we just drop the bicep routine. Shanae and I, we're talking about how we need to get on the the push-up.
Come on, Tim, join us.
Yeah, there you go, Tim. Did you see this clip of Trae Young at the Oklahoma State Fair? We're not sure how many stuffed animals he walked away with. Dave actually won 2 at Six Flags the other day.
That's amazing, because I've seen a jump shot.
Oh, snap.
I think they called this Hustlin' the Hustlers.
Yeah, that ain't fair.
Something, nothing, or everything.
I mean, it's something. Look, but it's not a surprise. I would never bet against Trae Young doing something basketball-related that does not require playing a lick of defense. He's in his element here. Come on now. What?
Moving on. SNY's Ian Begley reports that the Knicks, they're discussing whether or not to retire Carmelo Anthony's jersey, but the decision will, quote, ultimately be made by owner James Dolan. So, Dave, would Melo, go Cuse, getting his number 7 retired in Madison Square Garden, would that be something, nothing, or everything?
I think it's everything. Obviously, James Dolan is a bit of a wild card, to put it mildly. But if you look at the body of work that Carmelo Anthony brought to that organization, the most points ever in a single game for anyone wearing a Knickerbocker uniform, number 7 all-time in total points, alongside the guys that we're so familiar with, the Patrick Ewings, the Dave DeBusches of the world. Everything put his number 7 up in the Raptors.
I expected more energy from you, Dave, on that one.
He used the government name, Knickerbocker.
Yeah, right.
Tyrese Halliburton's shot from Game 1 of the East Finals to force overtime. It will be remembered forever. I mean, ask Knicks superfan Spike Lee. The pair, they were together on the Old Man and the Three podcast. And Spike, he explained why that shot has affected his personal life. Take a look.
To this day, people come up to Reggie and I and say that we hate each other. How many years ago was that?
Well, 30?
A long time.
Yeah.
Even today, me and Reggie squashed that. It's been squashed. But you brought the back. We had that thing squashed, man, and it was dead, and you brought it alive.
Gotta love Spike there. Knicks Pacers, one of the best rivalries it has been, especially last season. I'm bummed we're not going to be able to see it at full health, full fruition this year. But before we take a look at Tyrese Halliburton back on the floor, is there another rivalry, Dave, that you think is the best in the NBA right now? Because that one could be it again when they're back and healthy.
Oh, we started this segment talking about the new physique of Steph Curry and LeBron James. It's simple. They are the two monolithic figures in today's game. 4 straight finals appearances about a decade ago. Anyone who tuned into Christmas Day last year can recognize they still make it must-see TV. And their rivalry is not a renewable resource. There's a limited amount of opportunities that we have left to see these two guys still battle it out. And so anytime the Warriors and Lakers are playing, you got to tune in. That's the best rivalry in today's NBA.
I mean, look, it's not even the best rivalry with the Lakers. Forget Steph's new physique. Steph's been in shape his whole career. Let's talk about Luka's new physique. Did you see the men's health cover? Did you see that snug sweater he was wearing the other day? Looked all sleek. Luka against the Mavericks.
Sweater, okay.
And it was a nice sweater.
I thought the rivalry was Luka versus sweater. It's Luka versus
No. The sweater and Luka are on the same page. Him and the Mavericks clearly were not. Him and Nico Harrison clearly were not. And look, the Mavericks are coming out here the day after Thanksgiving. The Lakers will be in Dallas in late January for the first time. And you remember when Luka went back last year? He lit him up something fierce. Standing ovation when he checked out, going right into fired Nico chants. It's a rivalry, but Mavericks fans are more on Luka's side than the home team.
What about the rivalry of the future? Because anytime you have the Spider-Man meme, right, going at you, it's good. I'm talking about Victor Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren.
I love it.
That is the rivalry of the future. And I love it because they mimic each other in frame. They still got major game. I'm dropping some bars. But more importantly, these are guys that respectfully have animosity toward each other when they touch the floor. And it's not just domestically here in the NBA. It's also internationally. We can see this play out for Team USA versus Team France for the years to come. So I know that there are currently great rivalries with amazing generational stars. But the next ones are lined up, and I'm excited to see what they do.
Yeah, the rivalries are in good hands with these two because in all of the friendly at times of the NBA right now, having a little bit of good old-fashioned smoke and competition between those two young stars, especially with how good Oklahoma City into the conversation. Wendy, what does this actually look like, do you think, this season for Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers?
I don't think it's going to affect this season at all, other than being a distraction. I think if you're a Clipper fan, the one thing that you can take solace in is that the team looked very good at the end of last season. They finished the regular season 17-4. Everybody remembers that they were ahead in the series against the Nuggets 2-1 and were ahead in the final minute of Game 4 before the Aaron Gordon tip dunk at the very end of the game, which was one of the most remarkable plays in the playoffs that turned that entire series. And then in the second half of last season, after the All-Star break, Kawhi averaged almost 26.7 rebounds and shot 52%, and even continued to work out through mid-June because he felt so good and wanted to have his body take over. And as Baxter said, he is under contract for the next 2 seasons for $100 million. The Clippers may have made some mistakes in the past with the Kawhi Leonard situation, but they are stuck into it right now and actually feel like they're in a good place with the team and this roster changes that they've made. And that's what I think the message that you'll hear when they meet for training camp in 2 weeks.
Wendy, thank you. I want to bring Pau Gasol and our reporter Tim McMahon into this conversation as well. Pau, I'm going to start with you because you played with Kawhi for 2 seasons, right, in San Antonio with the Spurs. What insights did maybe you glean then that could have, I don't know, foreshadowed what we're seeing now?
Yeah, I mean, Kawhi, when I played with him in San Antonio, obviously he was one of the greatest players in the league. He could make stuff happen in either end of the floor in an elite way. And that's, then the way he exited San Antonio was quite not ideal, and it created some issues, also around our season at the time. But apparently there were some differences that couldn't be solved, and he kind of, got his way out. Luckily for my brother and the Raptors, they benefited from that, you know, and they won a championship, and they were very happy about that. And I'm always obviously happy and I'm rooting for success. Here, the Clippers took a big gamble. It didn't quite pan out as they planned. I think when you look back, and I think you mentioned it on the article, a lot of GMs at the time, when he was a free agent, they would have gone all in also for Kawhi. And bringing Paul George at the time, who was also one of the top players in the league. So, it just didn't work out. Now they have to deal with reality and what's here, what's in front of them, and looking at what's best for the franchise going forward, whether it's, and at some point relationships end, in terms end. So Kawhi will be, just like any other player, will be moving on, and the Clippers have to deal with what's best for them, and they should be optimistic and positive going into a season. If you're not, you're already kind of fish dead in the water, right? Yeah. So yeah, that's it.
I think it's an important point that you made, though, that the Baxter outlined when you said that general managers around the league sort of note that at the time, particularly in the situation that the Clippers were in, where they were sort of trying to come out of this Donald Sterling era, it's a move that most teams would have made to get a player like Kawhi Leonard. All of this kind of brings the question, Tim, of, okay, what happens next? What challenges will the Clippers face as they try to settle all of this and perhaps even move on, if that is what comes to fruition?
Yeah, and look, the Clippers sold their soul to open up a championship window, right? And, hey, don't blame them at all for doing that, for bringing in the reigning Finals MVP and a guy in Paul George who was a first-team All-NBA player at the time. Obviously, the price was steep. It ended up being steeper than anybody could imagine. But they still haven't paid off that credit card bill. You're talking about pivoting from Kawhi Leonard. You're not done paying, right? And you're not done paying for the James Harden trade either, which is, again, trying to capitalize on having Kawhi as a part-time superstar. As a guy who plays 42% of the games. As a guy who's finished only 2 of 6 postseasons since he's been in the Clippers uniform. They are out their draft capital in the first round, either outright or via swaps in 26, 27, 28, 29. We'll see what happens at the conclusion of this NBA investigation. But you're talking about pivoting when you're still digging out of pain.
Yeah. I think the legacy of Kawhi in many ways, look, it was a huge gamble, obviously. And initially, after the elation of landing him and thinking about championship aspirations, there was also the fear of losing him because they knew what happened in San Antonio. NBA teams can be afraid of their superstars, and they knew how much of an investment it was. And I think the elements of fear and secrecy, giving way to heartbreak about his injuries, and then looking at Oklahoma City and knowing what they have there, it's a combination of a lot of emotions and what has been so far a failure.
Right. Well, because when you connect the dots, there are some ways in which you can say that these moves have directly led to a championship for Oklahoma City and perhaps one of the best chances we've seen at a dynasty since the Golden State Warriors. Again, this is complicated. There's a lot there. I encourage you all after the show to go check out Baxter's article. It's up right now on ESPN.com and get the full context here that we're talking about. Of course,